We've talked about ChatGPT now twice in this conversation. What are your general thoughts? It sounds, from what it sounds like, quite pessimistic about the state of AI today and AI being used as a tool for writing. Where do you stand?
I'm so glad you asked that. I think it's wonderful. When I was here 50 years ago, we were using slide rules to calculate. I don't even know if people know what that is anymore.
Yeah.
Then they invented something called the pocket calculator. Who wouldn't use a pocket calculator in front of us instead of a slide rule? So I feel the same way about ChatGPT. It's a miracle if you use it correctly. So we now have a section in Winning Writing in which I call him Sir Nicholas Chow, who was MBA 23, who got really good with ChatGPT. So Nick Chow now comes in and speaks to the class about using, and we do exercises with ChatGPT. And my rule is, you can use it, you should use it, but if you just rely on ChatGPT, your work will be one of a million. It will lack warmth, which is essential. It will lack concision, although you can tell it to do it faster. The third thing about ChatGPT is it hallucinates. It invents things. And I discovered this most recently. I knew that the GSB was the founding place for many, many dating apps. About half a dozen dating apps have their start at the GSB. We should all be so proud. So I asked ChatGPT, I said, okay, well, how many dating apps got their start at Stanford? And it gave me 2 or 3 that were correct, and 2 or 3 that when I checked on Google, and this is the important thing, you've got to check the stuff you get from ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It was just nonsense. And so if I had just assumed that ChatGPT was correct, I would have looked like a fool. But that said, it did give me a start. It did get some of them right, so I could check them. And that's what's the beauty of ChatGPT. And this is what Nick Chow says. Nick Chow says, ChatGPT is like having a staff of 500 semi-competent interns who do lots of research for you. And lots of the stuff they give you is ridiculous. You don't need it. But every so often, it gives you an idea, and you think, that's exactly right. And I've just finished writing a book where I use ChatGPT a lot just for ideas. So one thing we do in class is we write an email and subject lines. So you can ask ChatGPT for subject lines. It'll give you 10 subject lines. 1 or 2 of them are pretty good. And then you can say, oh, I really like that one. Give me 10 like that. And then it'll give you 10 more in seconds that are even better. So use it. It's a real resource. But you have to, it's still, to make yourself 1 in a million, you have to improve on what ChatGPT gives you.
Yeah. I love that you've embraced ChatGPT in the classroom. Now have a lecture focused on prompt engineering with Nick.
Yes.
That sounds incredibly useful for students to learn because you can tune things up, you can tune things down, there's tone now, and I definitely would love to get more proficient in that. A fun anecdote is that I was in a class last spring called HR Analytics, and the professor ran a test, a simulation, while we were students in his class. He said, you may use ChatGPT for assignments. The only thing is that you have to let us know.
Yes, exactly.
And that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And so we would submit assignments, check a box if you use ChatGPT. If you didn't, fine. And then at the end of the quarter, they graded the assignments blind. So they didn't know if you used ChatGPT or not. Then he saw the grades of those who only used ChatGPT, those who did not use ChatGPT, and those who used a mix, like your human intervention.
Yes.
And the third performed best on the assignments.
The third was?
ChatGPT plus human intervention.
Okay.
As you're describing in your class.
Thank you. That's fascinating.
And it was done, I think maybe it was just a small simulation of 40 students that he had in the class, trying to pull out some learnings there. And he's like, we as lecturers and professors need to integrate AI into the classroom.
Yes.
Need to figure out what does that mean? And I know that there's conversations with administration of what this could look like in the future, but the future is potentially hopeful where students can use it.
I'm really optimistic. I mean, there may be other reasons that AI will destroy the world, but I finished a book in a year that would have taken me 3 years without the help of Wikipedia, Google, ChatGPT. I'm old enough to remember when we used to go to the library and hope you could find a print book that would answer your question. And this will be the only time when I talk about being an old person, but I think people should appreciate how much easier it is to do research now.